Peace World, and welcome to Foundation Radio. My name is Adam Barnard. Thank you so much for joining me today on this YouTube exclusive. You can only hear this here at my YouTube page. Don't forget to like and comment and subscribe. I thank you if you're already here, and if you're just joining me for the first time, welcome. You'll find all of my previous material here. You'll find all of the good stuff, and then I'm also bringing you all of my Foundation chats here. As I've been going through these, I started to think about some of the interviews I did in college at Westchester University on 91.7 WCUR Westchester The Curve. And I thought, why leave this in the archive and let the dust collect on it digitally when I can share it with you here on YouTube? So we're going to go back in the time machine in the year of our Lord Jesus Christ all the way to 2011, when I had the opportunity to interview, at the time, Shady Records recording artist Yelawolf, ahead of the release of his album Radioactive. This was a fun time in college radio for me. We had just really begun building the station back and building it up to something different than it was. WCUR had the reputation of being a hippie spot for a while. No one really took it seriously, and then a bunch of us came in and said, no, we're going to take this seriously. We like this place, and we want it to be fun, and we want it to be inclusive, and we want everyone to be here. And so we decided we were going to bring in people that we wanted to talk to, and we were going to make it a fun organization and make it somewhere where people wanted to hang out. And that's exactly what we did. So it started with some of these interviews. Originally, we had Bam Margera on the show, and friend of the show, Matt Toal, was able to secure an interview with Herb Alpert, who is a famous musician. And then at the same time, I scored this interview with Yelawolf right as Radioactive was coming out to the markets. Now, I will tell you, this is one of the very first interviews that I did. So it's not going to be what you're expecting the quality for me to be now in 2024, but I feel like it's important to the narrative and the story of what I do to share this interview with you. And you'll hear the static from the radio. This was pulled right off of the radio because I don't have the original copies and press downs that Jake Summers gave me when we recorded this, so we pulled it right from the board. It used to be connected to this old iMac right there in WCUR studios that would get the live feed from the internet stream and download right into the computer, and we would pull the MP3s to mess around with and manipulate as we pleased. So it's going to sound a little staticky. It's going to sound like it came right out of a boombox, but I hope you enjoy it. Please listen, subscribe, comment, like, share with your friends, and keep it tuned. There's plenty more Foundation chats that are coming your way over the next few weeks, actually maybe a few months. There's a lot in the archive, but you can go and check them all out right now at foundationradio.net, and you can also subscribe here at youtube.com/@FoundationRadioPod. So once again, this is Adam Barnard. Here is my WCUR interview with Yelawolf. Peace. Welcome to Foundation Radio, 91.7 WCUR Westchester The Curve. My name is Adam Barnard, and I am here with...
I'm Greg Mead.
And Sam Krebs and Joe Keen are going to be joining us in a little bit. It's my pleasure to introduce to you Shady Records recording artist Yelawolf. Are you with me, brother?
Yo, what up, homie?
How's it going, man?
I'm chilling. How are you, man?
I'm doing well. I just wanted to once again thank you for doing this for us. Let's just get started in this interview. Right at this moment, looking at your star from Alabama, how are you feeling, and did you ever think that anything like this would happen to you growing up?
Man, honestly, I've stayed focused for years, man. So, I mean, yeah, in a way, you know, I remember sitting in a car with my cousin years back, you know, telling him that, man, I'd really like to get to Marshall someday, you know, like
right.
Get my music to him. I always just had a feeling that he would get it, you know.
Absolutely.
And understand where I was coming from, and you know, appreciate my the art of, you know, the seriousness I take and the perfectionist that I am about the lyrically and the songwriting and just culturally all together. So yeah, I had a vision, man, but you know, you never know how things are going to turn out, man. You just, you know, hit a lot of bumps in the road and through ups and downs. Just got to kind of fight through it and persevere, man. So
absolutely. Now I know. Just reading a little bit about you here. Initially, you had moved to California from Alabama to pursue a career in skateboarding. If you think things could happen differently, do you still think you'd be in a pursuit for something like the X Games instead of the Grammys, or did you think anything was going to be different with that?
I never really had a plan B, man. But I imagine if music had not started turning around for me, that I would have entered the skateboard industry in some kind of way. But as far as a professional skateboarder, I don't know if I'm definitely talent-wise wasn't cut out for it. Or maybe at one point I was, but my passion kind of shifted into music. But my love for skateboarding, will always be there. And, a lot of my homies have become professional skateboarders or now run shops or are in the skateboard shoe industry or printing boards, shirts, whatever, making wheels. So in some kind of way I would have gotten to the business of skateboarding. And it's crazy because now the music has brought me back directly pretty much to the top of skateboarding. I've become friends with, Paul Rodriguez and Dirdick and Danny Way and all the Plan B crew, Colin McKay and Tori Pudwell and all these top pros, that I have met now through my music career. It's kind of crazy, but
that's pretty wild how that happened.
Kind of came full circle with that.
That's pretty wild, man. I mean, I know that you're kind of tight with Bam Margera right now. Is that true too?
Yeah, and Bam's also a close homie of mine, man. Bam came out to the show. The first time I met him in Texas, it was my second trip out to South by Southwest. And he came out to a show, and I had no idea that he was a fan of the music. Let
me tell you from personal experience. Every time we have a little banger at his house, I Just Want to Party is the first song that comes on.
That's what's up, man. Yeah, Bam's the homie, man. And yeah, we kick it a lot, man. I see him quite a bit. Actually, he comes out whenever he gets a chance and comes and kicks it. I met Ape and Phil out in Vegas this last trip, and so we all partied together. They were celebrating an anniversary, I think.
Oh, nice.
And we partied out there in Vegas.
That's what's up, man. Ape and Phil are a couple of my favorite people too. So let me ask you about some influences on your career. I know that you've stated before in a couple interviews that Andre 3000 from Outkast is somebody who's had a giant effect on your rapping. Outside of him, I mean, is there anybody personally that's had an influence on you, either small scale, large scale, and not so much hip hop, but any genre in general?
Culturally, what Kid Rock has been able to do with his career, being that at one point he was opening up for Too Short and touring with a high top fade, and his growth and his evolution from doing that to hosting the CMTs.
Right, that's a pretty big jump from one end of the spectrum to the other. I mean, that's kind of wild. I never would have pictured Kid Rock doing something like that. But
yeah, well, that learning to win in any situation, and I'm doing me no matter what kind of attitude. This is what I'm into, and I'm going to be the best of me I can do of it. Period. And
absolutely.
That will gain you so much respect. And so as far as emceeing and the soul and the melody of Outkast, and obviously 3000, he's just so prolific, and artistic, and inspirational, and then of course the homie Big Boy. I mean, they're the greatest rap group of all time.
Absolutely.
In my opinion.
Yeah, I can't find anybody who would be hard pressed to disagree with that. I think Outkast is definitely, as far as just not just rapping and hip hop in general, but culturally. I mean, they're huge. I mean, just everything that they've done. So
yeah, man, and I was very fortunate, man. Big Boy gave me my first break on BET. I performed with him last year at the BET Awards for Ain't No DJ. He's been super supportive, and man, those relationships I never would imagine would come together. But I also now have a relationship with Kid Rock.
Wow.
And he's featured on my new album.
When did you first get the idea that Eminem was interested in having you on the label? I heard the story that I hear from down the pipeline is that Eminem listened to one of your tracks and immediately signed you right away. Is there truth to that, or how exactly did this whole process go down?
Nah, it wasn't that simple. After I did a mixtape called Trump Music, I put it out.
Great album, by the way, and one of my favorites right now.
Thanks, man. I started making noise online, And this is the first time I had ever made any traction online. I didn't really have any presence online up until that point.
Right.
But we did a video called Pop the Trunk.
Okay.
And started doing a ton of shows. After we tore up South by Southwest, we inked a deal with Interscope. And of course, my first thought of after signing Interscope was, well, I'm closer, you know.
Right, you're closer to that goal, yeah.
I'm closer to do it. I'm trying to meet him, you know. Trump Music ended up on Paul Rosenberg's desk, you know, just through
the proper channels and all.
Yeah. So he passed it on to Marshall, and Marshall hadn't checked it out, but when he went to work with Jim Johnson, so he was getting word of me. Marshall was getting word of me from good resources, you know, like
right.
People close to him. So he's paying it attention. But after he went down to work with Jim Johnson, which is Jim Johnson, like my big brother, man, and Jim Johnson played him Pop the Trunk just during the session, like, hey, have you heard Yelawolf yet? Like a straight selfless act, you know, like
absolutely
didn't have to do that, but he did. And so he saw Pop the Trunk, and then he checked out Trump Music, the mixtape, on his way back to Detroit. After that, called a meeting, and we flew out to Detroit. And just started working it out after that meeting. At that point, I still didn't know that I was going to be signed. No one told me. I just thought it was a meet and greet. But
so they kept you in the dark about it the whole time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, that's a huge thing.
Yeah, that's true.
You don't want to be set up for any kind of disappointment for something that epic.
Yeah, I was going to say, especially working with Eminem. I mean, you know, that's got to be intense. I mean, and just what have the experiences been like being in the studio, you know, with guys like Slaughterhouse, who's another one of my favorite groups right now, and even just Eminem and Dr. Dre together? I mean, what is that like? I mean, the magnitude, especially for somebody like me who's a huge hip hop fan. I've been listening to hip hop since I can even remember. What is that like to be in the studio with them, watching them go to work, and knowing that, wow, I'm going to be a part of this in some way, shape, or form? Like, how is that, as not just an artist, but as a person? Like, what's the magnitude of that for you?
You know, when you're in the studio and in the booth, you know, looking into the control room, and as I'm laying down a verse, like seeing Marshall in there, you know, just like behind the boards, it feels like, for me, it's, you know, just becoming a part of history, you know,
right?
Just like by association.
Yeah,
you're
just being a part of it.
I'm becoming a part of history just by association. I haven't even put out my debut album yet, but I still feel it's really happening, you know, and like
absolutely,
even to be a part of like the Cypher.
That Cypher was incredible. Busta Rhymes always kills it in anything he puts his hands on, but I mean, your Cypher was just from beginning to end was absolutely out of control. If you haven't checked out the BET Cypher with Yelawolf, Slaughterhouse, and Eminem, I'm sure you can find it on shadyrecords.com. I know they had some behind the scenes stuff up there, but you can definitely check it out. What kind of reaction have you had, either positive or negative, from anyone who has watched the Cypher? I mean, is there anything that, you know, that has come of that since then? I mean, you guys, like I said, you guys just killed it on that. So I'm curious to see what kind of responses you've been getting back in the past couple weeks about it.
I keep good people around me, man, and you know, as far as digging for responses or looking to see what people are saying, I try not to ever put my nose in that, because
right,
you know, good or bad, I'm just trying to stay focused. I know that I went there with my verse, you know, and I was done. You know, that you have to commit in situations like that,
right?
To what you're doing, and you don't question yourself before you grab that mic and go in, and you don't question how it went down after. I'm up there with heavy hitter lyricists.
Right.
I'm the wild card on top of that. You know, like
yeah. You don't really.
And
know
I went first. You know, so I set it off, and
yeah, you definitely you set the tone for the rest of the Cypher at that point, as far as I was concerned. I mean, everybody in the camp is just absolutely killing it right now. So.
I just wanted to jump in for a second. I have been listening to a little bit of your music. I'm not really into hip-hop and rap at all that much. That's more Adam's gig right there. But Hard White, that's a killer track right there, and Lil Jon's on that a lot. I also heard some other songs that you've been working with, Travis Barker, Busta Rhymes, Twista, a few other people. But all the few years of working with these people, who would you say is your favorite to work with?
You know, in different atmospheres, you know, there's like, you like working with different artists for different reasons. I mean, I like performing the most with Travis. It's just the energy, man. Like,
he's definitely a great performance artist.
He just pushes it out of you. Whatever's there, he'll just amplify it, you know, and he really gets into it, and he's cool to tour with and hang with. So he's my favorite dude to perform with.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite is Marshall, like lyrically and just concept wise, song wise, and Pooh Bear melodically. Mm-hmm. Producers, I'd say Willpower. For some hot beats, we always seem to pull it together. But and I'm rocking right now with DJ Craze, which is insane. He's 3-time DMC world champion DJ, and I'm super interactive with my DJ, so he's on tour with me right now.
Let's talk about Radioactive for a minute. When is the album actually coming out? I know you've set an exact date, but when is it actually going to be released to the masses at this point?
November 21st.
Okay, and I know there's a lot of buzz that's coming about this album. I mean, I know it's a big deal for you and hip hop in general. What can we expect as the people who are going to be going out and getting this album? What can we expect from hearing from the album? Can you tell us any guest appearances that are going to be on it, production-wise? Anything you can say about the album itself?
Yeah, actually, for the Trump music fans, and the fans that are familiar with my current music, we were careful not to alienate, any of the fans I've created by going left musically,
Right.
So we just wanted the album to grow literally from first song to last song, because I have records on there that are going to introduce, God willing, millions of people to my music who have never heard of me before.
Absolutely.
Because I felt like at this point in my career, it's time to take that next step, that next evolution out of mixtape world and go on and try,
Right.
And go swim in the mainstream for a little while,
Absolutely, man.
As somebody who is not into hip-hop and rap, I can say that that's definitely a good swim. You can go really far with that, man.
Like I said, I'm super excited to get my hands on the album, and I know that now that I know that Kid Rock and all these other people are going to be on the album, even more so, I'm excited to hear it. But mostly because I want to see what you can bring to the table. I know that speed is a lot of stuff that comes into your rapping, and you have a lot of crazy word working that you have going on with, and I think it's pretty impressive. But we have one more question for you before we wrap it up, and Greg actually came up with this one. He was very interested in this as drinkers as we are. We wanted to know what you thought about this.
You are a self-proclaimed whiskey drinker. I'm a self-proclaimed brandy drinker because I think it's fancy, but I drink it out of the bottle, so it's kind of homeless-like. But I was wondering, what's your preference, Jack Daniels or Johnny Walker?
Jack.
There you go.
As I drink enough of it, I like the Gentleman's.
There you go.
Gentleman's Jack is super good. I drink Jack pretty much every night.
There you go. I like his style. I like that. Gentleman Jack is always the way to go, I think, at that point. Yelawolf, anything you want to plug before we let you go here today?
Hey, just reminding everybody that, Radioactive drops November 21st. It is my freshman release from Shady Records. If you want to follow up with anything else you want to know about me, you can go to Yelawolf.com for my bio, pictures, check out videos, tour dates. So if I'm coming to your city, please come out and check out the live show, man. That's where I live, is on that stage. You can go to Slumerican.com too, SLUMERICAN.com. That's my new crew family, the Slumericans. We're doing shirts and stuff, all of which would lead you back to Yelawolf.com. And obviously Twitter is active too, at Yelawolf, YELAWOLF, and Facebook. /Yelawolf. That's it, man.
All right.
Appreciate y'all having me.
Yelawolf, thank you for taking time out of your schedule to talk to us, man. We really, really appreciate it.
Foundation Radio is hosted, recorded, and produced by Adam Barnard. Additional production and narration provided by Sam Krebs. The show was mixed and engineered by Carl Pinnell. Our intro and outro music was performed and produced by Dumb Ugly. Additional musical accompaniment provided by Enrichment. Special thanks to Greg Mead, Joe Keane, Jeff Quinn, and Dr. Ruth Almy. Follow us on Twitter at FND Radio Pod and find our entire archive at foundationradio.net. This has been a Butts Carlton Media Production. Butts Carlton, Proprietor.